Oh man. 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 Well, that's embarrassing. So I've been talking to myself for the last 10 minutes. I know this is a weird way to start a stream, but now I'm live as I can actually see that I'm live. But I've been talking to myself for 10 minutes, thinking I was live the entire time because OBS got an update. And usually I just hit a single button and everything goes live. But for some reason, it did not work this time. And it looked like I was live in the back end because it showed the preview. So I was talking to myself for 10 minutes straight, not realizing that I wasn't live to you guys. So I had to go back into OBS and hit go live. And now I'm actually live. And I did a whole introduction. I did a bunch of... I actually responded to some comments. Now those comments are up above. I may have to go back, but yeah, that was... Wow. Well, you know what? At least it was a good practice. And this stream gets to start off on this note here where I literally thought I was talking to myself for 10 minutes. But hey, it's these new things you gotta learn as you go forward. Yeah, you gotta love technology. But yeah, how's everyone doing tonight? How's everyone doing? 15 minutes late, but not actually, because I was actually talking to myself. So technically I was on time for this stream. So this doesn't count as me being late. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's weekend? How's everyone have a good Easter and all that stuff that, you know, happens on this weekend? I'm full. I ate a ton of food today, so it's been a good day for me. I'm kind of tired, but you know, there's lots of gaming stuff to talk about. It's a nice way to end off the weekend. So I was talking about gaming, my 9 p.m. stream. And I was looking at some of the comments. Someone said, made a joke about the clickbait title. And I'm just sitting here saying, hey, I'm not the one making the news. I'm not the one making the news. I'm not the one putting out the opinion pieces. I'm just the man with the mic and the internet connection reporting the news. So, hey, it's not my fault that there are some articles going out and saying that Xbox could be the man that killed Xbox. Or it's been a long day, guys. Phil could be the man who killed Xbox. So he could be the man who killed it. I'm not creating these headlines. I'm just talking about them. But yeah, so we'll talk about that. We have a bunch of other things to talk about. But how's everybody doing? How's everyone doing in the chat? Lotus Esprit, how you doing? Welcome from Spain. Sully, Daryl, Matthew, Big Mad, Mo. How's everyone? Bionic Wolf, how's everyone in the chat doing today? Surprise April Fools. Yeah, I guess that's kind of, I surprised myself talking about this. And what I was saying when I was talking to myself for the first 10 minutes is on this stream, what I like to do is if there's a bunch of news that I haven't gotten to yet, that over the weekend, which I haven't read through, I like to just come on here and read through it organically and raw and just give my actual reactions and opinions, not as thought out as some of my videos where obviously it's pre-recorded so you can sit back and think about it. But I'm going to read through that article, read through some other stuff, and just give you my true thoughts on what I think. Obviously, when it comes to the whole Phil Spencer killing Xbox thing, I'm sure you guys know what I stand on that. I think Phil Spencer has done a great job at Xbox. Yeah, he's not been perfect. Yeah, he's made some errors. But overall, if you really look at Xbox as a part of gaming at Microsoft, he's expanded out that division like insanely. And Xbox is in a great place right now, unless you're still on that whole caring so much about other people getting to play games. Then you're not gonna like some of his moves, and I guess that's understandable to you. But at the end of the day, Xbox has a ton of games. It's the ecosystem is very good. I mean, you compare the ecosystem overall to PlayStation and the ecosystem of Xbox, the way you can play games and enjoy games, it's, in my opinion, just far better. But so no, I don't think Phil Spencer is going to be the man to kill. Well, I want to read through that opinion piece and see what this guy says, and maybe he'll win some points. Maybe he will convince me of certain things. But yeah, that's going to be part of the today's stream. So, but again, we've been talking about Xbox being dead for, like, even the Soldier Boy says here, people always reveal their innermost desires. So people wearing articles every 5 weeks saying Xbox is dead. They're what they want because they love Sony so much, and it hurts to see them rival. I mean, we do see that a lot, and I am definitely more of, my personality is more of the skeptical personality. I like when I see everybody on the internet saying one thing, I don't just believe it. I don't just believe it because there's obviously so much nuance in certain stuff, and there's two sides of every single story. So I don't just believe it. And when it comes to like that whole Xbox tax thing with the media, I don't just believe that there's a huge Xbox tax against Xbox, but it is, I think there definitely is, like, you get a lot of clicks for hate articles, you get a lot of clicks for hate videos, you get all that stuff. That's where a lot of traffic comes, and you can see like YouTube and the internet promotes that stuff a lot. And there's definitely people out there that just don't like Xbox, and the reality is PlayStation has a bigger fan base, so more people in games journalism will be PlayStation as their main places they game over Xbox, and that all automatically has a bias that it's there, it's impossible to get rid of. But it has been weird. It's like we had the whole thing with games going to PS5. Before we continue here, Adidas 20 member for 30 months. Appreciate the support, man. Every time I stream on Sundays, seems like your membership has lasted even longer. So that's crazy, man. I really do appreciate that support. And it always pops up here first. And it always reminds me, because I always forget to promote it. And every stream I say this, but I always do until I see a notification. If you do want to help the channel out with a membership, it is just $1 membership, and you get some stickers or whatever they're called, and it just helps the channel for 99 cents. Actually, it's 99 cents. So yeah, if you want to help the channel out there. But in terms of like the whole thing, there was the games going to PlayStation, so there's a huge media thing, and that wasn't just PlayStation dudes. Let's be honest here. With games going to PlayStation, a lot of Xbox dudes lost their minds, like just boom, lost their minds. And there's still like a big division on that whole thing. But then they start to cool down, and you're looking at Xbox. People are like, okay, it's those 4 games, whatever. More games may come over in the future, but in general, it doesn't affect the Xbox. Like, people still get to play everything they want to play. They're making more hardware. We got the first ABK game with just Diablo 4 just the other day. Like, Game Pass is still incredible. Have you seen the Game Pass for March? I mean, March was a phenomenal month if you're a Game Pass subscriber. So there's been absolutely no indication that they are slowing down, or that the brand or the ecosystem or Xbox is getting worse because games are going on to PlayStation. And the outrage and the doom and gloom kind of started to go away. And then what happens this week? You have GDC and Christopher Dring and GameIndustry.biz saying he heard that developers are questioning why even putting games on Xbox. And now you're seeing opinion pieces that about, for some reason, now talking about how Phil Spencer is going to be the man who killed Xbox. It's just a very odd thing. But like I said, I haven't read the opinion piece, and I will do that live on stream, and maybe he'll say some things I agree with, and maybe he won't. But I don't think Phil Spencer is the man that killed Xbox, or is going to end up killing Xbox. In fact, you look at their numbers, and they've grown, and it's been a success so far. But how is everyone doing? I know I've just been ranting there off the bat. I had to re-say, you know, what's the worst part about making videos is if you make a video and you screw up, like you've done it and it comes out great, but like you forget to record, or didn't film it correctly, something was wrong with the audio, you'll never ever be able to make the video again as good as you did as that time that you nailed it. And it's the most frustrating thing. And even when you think you're streaming and you think you're live, but you're not actually live, and you go on this like interesting rant, when I redo it now, it just doesn't seem nearly as good in my head. But that is what it is. Well, we got 121 of you here in the 124 of you in the chat. Wow, that's huge. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, guys. If you guys want me to discuss anything that like I may not discuss on here, let me know in the chat as well. I know there's always stuff that I don't remember to talk about, or I miss, or, you know, I do my best. Well, what's up, everyone? In terms of games that I'm playing, I always like to kind of start off with that. I feel like all podcasts should start off with games people are playing. I'm still playing Unicorn Overlord. Phenomenal game. I'm about almost 30 hours into that now. It's really good, and it's one of those games that has such a grasp on me that whenever I go to sit down and play something, a lot of times I like jump in between titles, but I've just always only wanted to be jumping into that. I'm grinding hard, like I'm doing as much as I can. I'm not even probably very far into the actual story itself, which is crazy, but it's a great game. If you like strategy RPGs, if you like Vanillaware titles, for sure. Yes, please hit the oh, the Plume Pass thing is still there. I've got to click off. I was just giving Adidas the oh, you know what it is? I was just giving Adidas that extra spotlight for those 30 months. But yeah. I don't know what you guys were playing. Alone in the Dark, how is that? Heard mixed things about that, but cool that they brought that thing back. All right, let's just jump over here. Let's start with reading through that article. Let's read through and learn why I should say, based from the headline at least, or why Phil Spencer is going to kill Xbox. But before we do that, Lotus Esprit again. I mean, last week was insane with the super chats, and again, starting off with the super. Now I've learned it, super sticker with like this dancing controller saying with the $20 super sticker. Lotus, I appreciate that, man. Always so generous, so generous. I don't know what I'll say, but so generous. Thank you, Lotus. All right, let us talk about will Phil kill Xbox. I'm sure this is people who read the title of the stream. I did put a question mark, so don't accuse me of the pure clickbait. But I mean, I'm sure you guys assumed I was referencing this. Everyone was talking about this weekend. But I want to read through it. I want to see what Nathan Brown of VGC thinks. It's his opinion piece, so everyone's allowed their opinion, and I'm totally for everybody having an opinion. Well, let's read it here. Get the chat on the side so that anything interesting pops up, I will check it out. All right, Phil Spencer, long cast as Xbox's savior, may be remembered as the man who killed it. From Nathan Brown of VGC. Phil Spencer spoke to the press at GDC last week, offering some context and spin on Microsoft's recent maneuvers while dropping a few non-customary hits about the Xbox's division future plans. He says here, I take no issue with this. I am no longer sure Xbox has much of a future to speak of. Moreover, wow, that's like a hot take already. I am no longer sure Xbox has much of a future to speak of. It's a very hot take already. Moreover, I think Phil Spencer, for so long cast as Xbox's savior, may ultimately be remembered as the man who killed it. So there was a lot of that talk about Phil Spencer being the savior of Xbox after the Xbox One, because the Xbox One launch, or at least marketing at launch, was abysmal. The actual launch of the Xbox One wasn't bad. Like when the console came out and the games that they had with the console itself, it was actually good. In fact, it was far better in the earlier years of the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4. Where the Xbox One faltered obviously was that continuous content, but I think that was just like a product of not getting out to a strong launch, that they instantly tried to pivot and come up with this new strategy that we are seeing. in this generation of consoles. But the Xbox One was a bad launch. That was Don Matrick, of course. That wasn't Phil Spencer. And then Phil Spencer comes in later. And since he's been here, or since he's been in Xbox, I think he's done a lot of good stuff. Game, like we'll get into that later, but let's continue with the article. Speaking of Polygon, which has chopped the interview up into multiple news pieces in the classic early 2010 style, Spencer lamented that the games industry simply isn't growing enough, explaining that all of Microsoft's recent moves, the acquisition of Activision Blizzard concessions, the decision to take Xbox exclusive to PS5 or Switch, the layoffs, have been designed to counter this unavoidable, irrefutable truth. Now, the reality is the concessions for ABK, it was because they just wanted to get this deal through so that they can get the mobile side of gaming, like so they can get all of the ABK mobile stuff. That's the reality of those concessions. To them, that was far more important than having to put a few games onto other platforms. And that's very obvious when you just sit back and you actually take a look at the growth in the gaming industry across the different segments. Consoles themselves have stagnated. PC grows, but it's not the biggest. And then you have mobile, which is just the place now where every company sees is their biggest opportunity for growth. And that's why they made those concessions. I feel like if there was no growth in mobile and there was no future of Xbox to be able to expand out and meet new people, they wouldn't have even offered to buy ABK. Like, I don't even think that would have even been on the table. I think it solely comes down to the whole mobile side of things. I truly do believe that they've said that, and it just makes complete sense when you look at the numbers. Without new customers, Spencer says, everybody else's customer is your success state. You can't succeed unless you draw in customers from the other publishers and other platforms. And because you're not finding new customers with the games that you're building, everybody's kind of fighting over the same sized pie. Unless you can get into mobile and you can start grabbing customers there, which will help you pay for your console business, your PC business, your subscription business. Like, that's the reality. And anyways, that's just Spencer's quote. When you have an industry that is projected to be smaller next year in terms of players and dollars, and you got a lot of publicly traded companies that are in the industry that have to show their investors growth, because why else does somebody own a share of someone's stock if it's not going to grow? The side of the business that then gets scrutinized is the cost side, because if you're not going to grow the revenue side, then cost side becomes the challenge. Of course, that is obvious. So here, this is where he comments. Now look, Spencer is right to a degree. And if this were coming from a punter, a rank and file developer at a random game studio, or a modestly successful newsletter idiot, it would be a fair comment. But Phil, mate, I am sorry to have to point this out to you, but you're the head of Xbox. Okay, I don't know. He said nothing in that paragraph. That is just like a waste of reading. He says, I'm not sure you get to pin all of this on the macroeconomic this and that. You know, you've had, I think it's fair to say, a degree of agency in all of this. Indeed, there are maybe half a dozen people with the power to actually change the shape of the games industry. And for the last 10 years, you have been one of them. Okay, who are those half a dozen people he's referring to? I guess he would be referring to Phil, Jim, Ryan, I guess now Hiroki Totoki, the head of Nintendo, whatever his name is, probably EA's in there, probably Take-Two's in there, Selnick, and I don't know, maybe Ubisoft as well. Is that who he's referring to? I'm not sure. I do not see much point in dwelling on how we got here, because I think it's quite obvious to us all what's gone wrong. All of Spencer's big bets, the pivot to subscriptions, the variable hardware SKUs, the spending spree of studio acquisitions were contingent on Xbox not just being, to borrow the Xbox tagline, the best place to play, but the best place to play the best games. If there's one lesson we can take from the Spencer era, it's that you can enact all the disruptive change you like, but you cannot disprove this industry's oldest truth: great games sell consoles. This is the same thing. I saw people, I think Christopher Dring literally tweeted out this exact same thing here. $100 billion later, Xbox still doesn't have them. If anything, I would argue its first-party output has got worse since the shopping spree began, and its struggles are such no surprise at all. Now, here's my thing. I don't know what this guy does here. Is he just a journalist of some sort, Nathan Brown? Listen, great games are obviously very important. No one's going to argue that great games aren't important to sell a product. But I still don't understand. I still don't understand that the people that write for these major publications, when the numbers are right in front of them, you can go pull up, easily see attachment rates of first-party titles to Xbox and to PlayStation. And it's like when you can see that the attachment rate of first-party games on PlayStation and Nintendo are 10 to 15, maybe at max sometimes 20%. I don't have the exact number for every single game, but like the highest game that sells first-party is around that, right? Like it's not even half of the people who buy the consoles actually go out and buy first-party games. I mean, you can even specifically look at PlayStation, because PlayStation is the platform that everyone says that, oh, their first-party titles are why people buy PlayStations. But we have the numbers in front of us. It's right there. It's right in front of our faces, where the attachment rates just aren't high enough to say that, listen, most people go out and buy a first-party or a console for first-party games. That just isn't the truth. Most people buy the consoles and they're playing the Call of Duties and the Fortnites and third-party titles and all of the other games that aren't first-party titles. People are buying consoles for significantly many different reasons. Price would be the main, I would say. It's like a lot of people go out and just buy a console because it's cheap compared to building a PC. Convenience. A lot of people don't want to have to build a PC to play games. They don't understand all of that stuff, so they go out and buy a console instead, or they already have a PC that's perfect for productivity and they think that the main way to game is on console. They go out and buy a console. Their friends have purchased that console. Probably another main reason why a lot of people buy consoles. They already have a catalog from generations. Probably like what the whole digital catalog thing has changed a lot of the way that people buy. So this whole argument is just an argument of you like first party offerings on another platform better than you like first party offerings on the competing platform in your own subjective opinion, right? That's all that is, but it's not based in any reality in terms of the numbers that are out there. Which is like odd. I guess you could also say, yeah, hey, maybe people hear about these good first party games and it makes them go out and buy the console, but then they don't go out and actually play those first party games. The funny thing too is like that argument does not hold up at all for PlayStation or Xbox, but for Nintendo, you could definitely argue that the majority of people buy Nintendo Switches for the first party games, because I think they have like a 60% or so attachment rate on the Switch, which is just insane. Like there's always the console wars between Xbox and PlayStation, but Nintendo has absolutely destroyed both of them in the ability to be top of mind when it comes to video games and to be able to put out hardware where you're making money off of it and then make sure that everyone with that hardware is buying that same software. So Xbox is really the GOAT. I mean, Nintendo is really the GOAT when it comes to the console wars, and it's not even close. It's not even close. The Glasses 61, welcome to Plume Pass. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate joining Plume Pass. 99 cents helps the channel grow. We get some cool stickers, but you keep seeing this, and it's like these journalists at these publications, which is why people argue Xbox tax. You show them the numbers. You say, hey, look, there's like 15% people who bought God of War Ragnarok. Now, don't quote me on the percentage. It's an estimate. It's around that. Or Spider-Man 2 or whatever. And this is how many PS5s are in the wild. And they'll still come back and say, Oh man, Xbox, they just haven't released great first party games, which is also a subjective opinion because there have been tons of first party games to come out on Xbox. I mean, PlayStation has, we have another thing here. It's just like the last 2 years, PlayStation has released one first party game. Spider-Man 2, right? At the end of last year. They're not releasing a first party game this year. And don't come at me with, oh, they have the third party exclusives. Yes, those are not games developed by their first party studios. But though they haven't released a single big first party title on their platform, and the PS5 is still in the last 2 years basically, and the PS5 is still sold very well. Yeah, they didn't meet the 25 million targets, but they're still outselling the Xbox, right? And Xbox has far more first party content over the last 2 years, and they're gonna have far more this year. Driftwood with the 199 super chat. Can you talk about Kelly Lombardi, what she said? Sure, I can. I have to find the exact tweet again somewhere. I'm sure it's on X because I don't have it in front of me. I'll find that at some point. I have to find it. I don't want to misquote it. And sure, we can talk about that. Because you know what, I've been seeing so many comments. I guess people just want to talk politics for some reason, but I've been seeing so many comments on my videos today, at least. Everyone just all with the politic comments. It's like, oh my god, give me a break. Okay, let's continue here. Spencer spent part of his Polygon interview musing airily about a dedicated Xbox handheld, which I'm sure seems like a no-brainer in a world where Steam Deck exists, but I imagine it will be an alarming prospect for a development community that is slowly cottoning onto the fact that making games for Xbox is too much of a faff given the tepid rewards on offer. GamesIndustry.biz. Okay, so these guys obviously all work together. Are they the same publication? Are they owned by the same people? They must be. Are they? They must be. Yes, they are. Okay. All right. Now it makes sense. GameIndustry.biz. They're all owned by Repop. Okay. Let's get back here though. Yeah, see, this seems like this has to seem like coordinated in some way, right? I know I'm getting a little conspiratorial here, but Christopher Dring goes on a podcast and says developers don't want to develop games for Xbox, which really doesn't make sense. And then because you like these developers need to make as much money as possible, and you look at the difference between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they're essentially the same. I mean, they're both PCs. They're both AMD. It's not like I've harp on this all the time, but it's like people still think that today's generation of consoles is like when there was the Super Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis, and you literally have the same game, but they were different versions of the game depending on which platform you bought it on. It's not like that at all. It's basically just two PCs with exactly the same PCs. One slightly clocked higher than the other. One's a slightly more teraflops than the other. They're the exact same with a different plastic shell around them. So how much harder really is it? I still like, we always hear about that. But I truly want to know how much harder is it actually to do? Or is it just maybe when you look at the ROI of an extra couple of weeks, a week or two to optimize for the platform, the cost it is to create these games right now is like so tight in terms of the margins that they have. They're so tight that that extra week or two to optimize for the Xbox or the PS5 or whatever, they don't have faith that they're going to be able to sell enough copies to make up that money. I don't know, but like it can't be that much different to develop for the PS5 and Xbox Series X, especially when these games come out on these PCs that have like multiple different specs into them. But it's the same architecture. It's the exact same. It's not like the PS3 with the cell processor and then you had the 360, which were different. So I don't know. It's an argument you keep seeing pop up as well with very little evidence to, I think, actually really back up that claim. Because if one or two developers come out and make a claim about it, it's not enough evidence to prove it correct. There's so many other games that come out all the time that have no issues. So how are we looking at one or two developers that come out and complain about it and say, okay, this must be what the problem is, when you have hundreds and hundreds of other games and developers come out and never say a word and their games come out and they run across all platforms? So I don't know. That's just kind of my take on that. So he says GI's business Chris Dring returned from GDC with tales of publishers questioning their future support of a platform that bakes in so much risk, a dominant subscription service cannibalizing game sales that needs to ensure parity across Series S and X, and further increasing sky-high development costs and offers such a small audience in return. Now you have like these aren't. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get through this opinion piece, because these arguments he's making of like they're these old arguments that are continuously being made when they've already been like essentially they've already been proven that the Game Pass is profitable. Xbox is just I don't know. I can't. It's like hard because it's like come up with a new argument. If you're going to say he's killing Xbox. Now that all his big bets have failed, Spencer is turning to corrective measures, short-term fixes that might juice the numbers in the next couple of profit and losses. Is that P&L, I guess? But seems destined to further weaken the Xbox ecosystem down the line, bringing the likes of the Epic's Game Store and itch.io to Xbox consoles would confuse the value proposition, give users more ways to give money to people that aren't Microsoft, and do nothing to transform Xbox's fortunes. Now, I'm sure when Phil Spencer was talking about Epic Game Store and itch.io, it was in an interview. He was asked the question if he would like it. He said yes. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. He was asked the question and he was just like saying, that would be great, like to get more people, blah, 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 right? He wasn't like, this is happening, right? It would be really awesome if it happened from a consumer's perspective. I would love nothing more. I'm somebody who likes open ecosystems, just in my general day-to-day use. I use Android over Apple. I don't like Apple. I find they're way too closed. They force you into stuff. Android, you kind of do what you want. Xbox as a console, although it is still closed, don't get me wrong, it is still a closed platform. There's way more openness to it with things that you can do, with like just the fact that you can put emulators on it. Like to me, that is a selling point for the Xbox console. Well, how often would I use the emulators on the Series X and S? I don't know, maybe not that much, but just the fact that you can do that, the fact that you can get into developer mode, $20 and kind of just do what you want with it. Like lots of cool things you can do on the Xbox console. That appeals to me. But so I would love to see this. I would love to see Xbox open it up even more and bring all of these PC game stores to it, and then sell basically the Xbox console, but it's essentially just a gaming PC, which it already is. Let's be honest here. It is just a PC in a plastic shell. And you can play your Xbox games. You can launch your Steam games. You can do all these other things and just have it all in one place. I would choose that experience over building a $2,000 to $2,500 PC. Well, I would choose I would probably have both. my PC's from 2018. At some point I'm going to upgrade it, but my main place I game is console. And that would be the main experience I choose, would be that console, especially if they open it up. I play Steam games on it. I would do everything on it. It would be awesome. I like that experience of sitting in front of a big screen TV on a couch, which is hard to do with PC. And I've never really changed away from that. It's always been like that for forever, pretty much for me. PC I game sometimes, but it's like, I just don't like the experience as much of being, I'm in front of my computer, my monitor, mouse, keyboard all the time, working, doing stuff, right? Filming videos, editing videos. So I like getting away from that environment and sitting on a couch to play games. But yeah, that would be awesome. Put Steam, put Epic, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. But I think it would be phenomenal, and I'm all for it. I'm all for that happening. He says, I would love to add my itch library on a console. Don't get me wrong, but if Spencer thinks that's going to move the needle in any meaningful way, then I have some magic beans to sell him. And if he thinks that this is a two-way street, the first step on a journey that ends with Game Pass on PS5 and Switch and Steam, then he has truly lost the plot. I think it would move consoles. I don't know how many, but I think it definitely would. I think it would. Taking former exclusives to rival platforms is yet more short-term thinking. Sure, it may pump the numbers a bit, but each new port is one less reason for a potential new customer to buy an Xbox. And this is where you can see it's like as this guy been paying attention at all? At all? As a journalist on VGC, has he been paying attention whatsoever as to the strategy of Xbox since this beginning generation? Their strategy has been so clear now for the last number of years, is that their goal is to just literally get people into their ecosystem and have them play on whatever they want. Their goal isn't necessarily to push people to go out and buy an Xbox as their main funnel of getting people into the ecosystem. It is another way to get into the ecosystem. It is another way to get into Game Pass. And there are some negatives to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that's great, that's awesome. There are some negatives to it, and we've kind of seen that happen a few times. Where it's like sometimes you're somebody with an Xbox Series X and you're wondering, do they even care about us anymore? They're not optimizing the games as good as they should be and stuff like that. And I can totally understand that argument as something that would be negative in their strategy. But their strategy isn't, let's do all these things so people go out and buy and only think about buying the Xbox console. Their strategy, let's do all these things so people can get into the ecosystem anyway, and you make money off all those customers. And for one more reason for Xbox owners to switch sides and abandon the platform for good. Why would they switch sides and abandon the platform for good if they already have thousands and thousands of dollars in the Xbox ecosystem? Their Game Pass is a phenomenal subscription. And if they were to put out a handheld where you can access your thousands of dollars of Xbox games, access Game Pass, why would they go out and switch sides? Only that is a pure that's like a social media argument. Because yes, fanboyism, whatever, I don't care if you're a hardcore fanboy and it's like the last straw was Grounded going to the PS5 or to the Switch, and Sea of Thieves going to the PS5. If that was the last straw for you, I mean, have at it. Go to sell your Xbox. I couldn't care less. But the majority of people don't care. The majority of people out there do not care that those games went over. And if you were to put out a console where you get access to everything, majority of people will be like, oh, that's a great thing. That is a great thing for the platform. So once again, I cannot see a way in which this ends with Xbox as we know it today. Okay, so as we know today, at least getting stronger. Okay, yes, Xbox is changing. Great. So you said all this, and then your stance is something we've already known because Xbox has literally told us that Xbox is changing. As we know, it's getting stronger. I don't know. I think Xbox will get stronger with more people playing in their ecosystem. I don't see how that would make them weaker. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. It says, let us assume charitably that Sea of Thieves sells 5 million copies at $40 a pop when it launches on PS5 next month. Let us even more charitably pretend that means 200 million in revenue for Microsoft. Ignoring distribution and marketing, Sony's platform cut and the cost of making the port in the first place. Last quarter, 200 million would have increased Microsoft's revenue by 0.3%. That is merely a rounding error for a company of that size, and where the health of its gaming division is concerned, it is a little more than a sticking plaster. Now, I actually kind of agree with this paragraph here. I do agree with that. I even said this way back when they were saying like, oh, Sea of Thieves. It's like, okay, but Sea of Thieves has already made so much money and they've already sold, what was it, 35, or they have 35 million players or whatever. What actual benefit is it to put Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5 to get maybe 5 million copies? It's not like, for a company as large as Xbox and Microsoft, it doesn't make too much sense to me. Unless they are projecting far more than that. So I kind of agree with that statement. And that's not me saying that I care that Sea of Thieves is on PlayStation. I honestly couldn't care less. But from like the business side of things, it doesn't make too much sense. But maybe there's something in their spreadsheets that we don't know that would make it make sense, right? But yeah, I do. There is where I agree with him on this. But if he's extrapolating that out to, okay, that's going to kill Xbox, or that's going to contribute to killing Xbox, I don't agree with that. He says, to be clear, I feel bad for Spencer. He seems a decent sort. I think he's coming to this with the best of intentions, and in parallel universe where every horsey back romped home, he would be credited with transforming and perhaps even saving the games industry. the game industry. He would be credited with transforming and perhaps even saving the game industry. I mean, I don't know why he would ever be credited with saving the games industry. Like, I'm not sure about that one, but I would say that Phil Spencer and Xbox have absolutely transformed the game industry. If you look at where the industry was in 2017 to where the industry is now and how many more subscription services we have. I mean, Game Pass obviously played a major role in that, how cloud gaming has truly expanded and all those things. I mean, Xbox has played a major role in that, making it, as they're not the only reason, but I mean, they've shown that these are viable options and consumers want these things. I mean, you like specifically PlayStation Plus, those tiers more than likely would have never been transformed if Xbox didn't have Xbox Game Pass. They probably would have just continued with their same strategy and they probably wouldn't have changed much. So I would say that he's definitely helped in transforming the industry in various different ways. Whether that's good or bad for you individually, that's your choice. Like, it doesn't matter to me, but I would say transform for better or for worse, he has played a major role. He says, in another, where instead of spending $70 billion on Activision Blizzard, he spent on 230 odd games with the same budget as Spider-Man 2, perhaps Xbox is fine. No, I disagree. I totally disagree with that statement. I don't think that would change a thing. I think Xbox console sales would still be very similar if he spent it on 230 odd games with the same budget as Spider-Man 2. I think that for one, you'd have to guarantee that all those games with those budgets would sell well. They would sell enough to make enough money back. They would sell so well that their margins would be through the roof that Xbox wouldn't even consider any other strategy. So I disagree with that. And the concept that because Xbox has so many, they have good games. I still don't fully understand that argument anyways. But Brandon Martin, welcome to Plume Pass. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Thank you for signing up. The concept that, they could just go spend all this money and have these huge budget games, it just makes absolutely no sense in the way that the industry has gone. And it would do really nothing. It would do pretty much nothing, I would say, as of right now, that we can kind of see in them growing even more in those markets where they don't have any market share at all. Like the Asian markets, I don't think it really matters at this point how many great games Xbox has. People are not going to buy Xboxes. And one of the theories I have about putting games onto PlayStation and to the Nintendo Switch is that you put those games on those platforms in regions where people otherwise wouldn't see Xbox. That may be one of their early plans of trying to infiltrate those regions and get more money from those regions, because no one is buying Xbox no matter how many great games that they have put out there. So great games are good. I understand you need great games. They're a part of the equation, but we have the economics, we have the money in front of us, we have the numbers in terms of those attachment rates to Xbox and to PlayStation, and it just hasn't moved the needle. And he says here, but in our world, he has spent 10 years and a gargantuan amount of money taking Xbox from third place to third place, and that is not the market's fault. If the writing isn't on the wall for Xbox as a whole, then certainly it could be for him. So we'll see. So he makes some law points I don't agree with. He makes one point here, which is that paragraph, which I do agree with. But overall, it's the same talking points over and over and over again. Nothing really new brought up here. So, and we do have some numbers. Addict, send me a DM if it's what time is your show? I forget, it's Wednesdays, right? Send me a DM and I'll let you know. What was I saying here? There is, so now it also, I guess, depends on how you look at Xbox, right? Because for some people, for some people, it's like, do I enjoy my Xbox? Absolutely. It's the console I play the most. There may be some people out there that don't enjoy their Xbox, so they have this perception that, hey, Phil Spencer is killing Xbox. So that also plays into it as well. It was an opinion piece. Maybe he doesn't like his Xbox. That could play into it as well. But overall, like, we can look at some of their... Here's an article that I think it either got updated today or got published today. This is from Tweaktown. It says Xbox is profitable, and this is the other way you can look at it. Are they profitable, and are they a growing business? Because the reality is, as much as we want to sit back and there's all these things you want from Xbox, there's all these things you want from gaming, these companies have one goal and one goal in mind, and it's not to please fanboys. It's not to please every individual gamer. It's to be profitable and to grow. And if they're profitable and growing, they are successful, no matter what we think about how they are running the business, right? That is the reality of this. But here's an article from Tweaktown. Xbox is profitable and growing, a growing business, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer says. And he said this a couple of times. I don't know if this is from a previous interview or something, but we'll go through. It says Xbox may not have grown as fast as Microsoft hoped it would, but the business is indeed a profitable and evolving segment within the tech giant. Over the past few years, Xbox's profitability has come into question. Just how profitable is it to release first-party games onto Xbox Game Pass? We also saw another article, which I will go through later, about the gold rush of Game Pass being over. And there's actually another article that kind of asks some more indie devs, and it's not as simple as the gold rush being over, but I'll go through it. Is how much does cannibalization eat into potential game sales? Xbox is the only member of the big three that does not publish profits, which is because gaming is not its own segment. Xbox is part of Microsoft's more personal computing segment, which also includes Windows. So it's almost impossible to separate out Xbox profits. The FTC versus Microsoft federal trial also highlighted Xbox's shortcomings when it comes to growth. It's true the Xbox has missed Xbox Game Pass subscriber targets, missed by 44% in 2022, and overall gaming revenue missed by $780 million in 2023, but the games division is still profitable, and according to Phil Spencer, Xbox is also growing. We're a business, I've said it over and over, I don't get any luxury of not having to run a profitable growing business inside of Microsoft, and we are that today. So Phil says, he claims that Xbox is growing and profitable. So you would have to say, by what he is saying, they are successful. But here is some analysis. Activision contributes to $2 billion in revenue. So that's Activision made up nearly 30% of the holiday revenues. That was obviously a huge boost that they got to their financials. That obviously, it's kind of skewed because they just added and they say, oh, look, we just made this purchase and we have all this revenue. Look how great we are. But we're going to see how that truly does play out in the future, in the years when they're releasing new games. How are those games selling? How is Game Pass increasing? How many people are subscribing to Game Pass? How many people are buying games via the services that they have? All of that stuff, especially if they do put out a handheld. Like, that's going to be another thing that adds a lot to how many people potentially get in. It says catalysts for growth are a mix of Xbox's total business, but also some big changes like bringing select first-party games to PlayStation and Nintendo in a bid to sell more games. The Activision Blizzard King acquisition also helps, and Activision has already contributed over $2 billion to Xbox's quarterly revenue. This isn't the first time Phil Spencer has discussed Xbox profitability, which, to be fair, may not really need to be discussed by virtue of the fact that Xbox is still around. I mean, that is another thing. I feel like if Xbox was a dying business and they were going into the ground and all that stuff, multi-trillion-dollar company, like, they probably would be like, oh, let's just cut it. Let's just cut it and save that money. Let's not give $70 billion to purchase ABK. I feel like that's, when you're that big, you can do those types of things and the repercussions could be salvaged relatively well, but so they're still around, which is a good thing. Microsoft probably wouldn't keep an unprofitable albatross on its books. I completely agree with that. The real question is how profitable Xbox is, especially with PlayStation currently reporting 6% operating margins, which we know is a bad operating margin for them. They need to increase that greatly, which is why they are, we've seen them changing up their strategy. In 2022, during a Wall Street Journal live events, Phil Spencer said Game Pass was profitable, which we've seen these numbers. These are old numbers, fiscal year 21, fiscal year 22. Game Pass makes up What is this in? Base and services. Is this in? Yeah, they don't have the percentage there, but you can see the difference. Like Game Pass is the smaller amount there, and then games and other services and everything is the larger amount. You also give out specific figures. Let us calculate Game Pass revenues. In 2021, Game Pass made between 1.258 billion to 1.887 billion. In 2022, it could have made between 1.87 billion to 1.88 billion. You can see their quarterly revenues here, right? They've had some big quarters, some lesser quarters. Then they have this massive quarter here in Q2, in fiscal year 24 Q2, with the addition of Activision Blizzard. In 2023, Spencer reiterated Xbox's profitability during a Giant Bomb at Night interview. Game Pass is profitable. Xbox is profitable. I've said it's sustainable. People ask me what I mean by that. And then you can see here their quarterly revenue. So there, I mean, they are growing. Like, you go from fiscal year 15, and they have basically been steadily growing by like a decent amount. I mean, you go from fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 2021. That's a significant jump. And then 2022 grew even more, and it dropped off about a billion, 16.2 to 15.46 in 23. And then we will wait and see here with 24 hits. And I'm guessing with ABK, that chart is going to be like higher than everything. So yeah, you could throw an ABK there and they get all those revenues and you could say, oh, it skews it, but they're technically a part of Xbox now. So it absolutely is growing. And then you look at something like Call of Duty Mobile and Warzone, they made like 1.4 million in like 4 days or something. They're going to have tons of revenues coming into the Xbox division from the ABK side of things, and from the mobile side of things mainly. I think it's going to be one of their biggest growth, which then they can take that money and then continue to expand out Game Pass, make the subscription service better and make more games. So all of that type of stuff, right? All that type of stuff can be there. But Xbox is growing. Xbox is profitable. They grew. So this is from Activision made up nearly 30% of holiday revenues, and Xbox grew by 11.4% over the last year. But from the growth perspective, I mean, it's not dying. Xbox isn't going to die. Phil Spencer isn't going to be the guy that's killed it. In fact, you probably have Satty and Adele there seeing some of the growth numbers and seeing some of the potential of the mobile stuff, and probably pretty happy with where Xbox has kind of evolved to. The outrage is from the console side of things. And yes, I am a console fan at heart, but I don't care that people get to play games, because it doesn't take anything away from me. What I would care about it is if that strategy would end up being detrimental to the growth and to Xbox, where they eventually go away, because then that would hurt the entire gaming industry. That would be not good, but I don't think that will be the case. I don't think that will be the case at all. All right. Give me 1 second here, guys. What does everyone think about that? What does everyone think? I'm sure you guys have said a bunch of stuff in the chat, which I missed, but what does everyone think about that? Give me 1 second. Pour myself a drink. So, okay, so I have some other things I want to go over, as well as the Game Pass Gold Rush stuff. I did get a $2 super chat asking me to talk about Kelly Lombardi's tweet. I gotta look it up. I don't have it on me. Oh, this one here. This tweet here. This is the first one that pops up on my who asked me this again? Sorry, I'm gonna go back up and look, because I don't want to be rude, especially since it was a super chat. Driftwood. Driftwood for 199 super chat asked me, can you talk about Kelly Lombardi? What she said? Yeah, sure. If you guys want to get me to talk about stuff, just gotta ask. I don't think I'll have a crazy opinion on this, to be honest, though. I know a lot of people. This is the I just Googled it. I just Twittered it, and this is the first post that came up on it. Raise your hand if you're not white. If you're not a white man and you buy a video game and you buy video games. No hate to white dudes. It's just another day in the gaming industry that minorities have to fight to prove they exist. My general take here is she is the head of global marketing, I believe, or global product marketing is something at Xbox. And I get so confused when these people in these high positions get, because of some online discourse going on, make a tweet or something, or just make stuff like this, put this out there, when clearly this is a very controversial take. This is something that doesn't, like, most people are, a lot of people are going to look at this and thinking, like, what's the point of this tweet? Why are you tweeting this? I don't know. It's really weird where you have these high ups get involved in this online discourse, where it's just, especially something like this, which, raise your hand if you're not white, if you're not a white man and you buy video games. Well, like, why? To me, that's like, are we going back to, I honestly, it's hard to figure out what to even comment on. So it's like, isn't that discrimination in and of itself? I don't know about you guys. I'll just give you my story about what I think about this type of stuff, because I grew up in a place and I grew up in a time where I never at any time thought about somebody's color of their skin. I never did. I just never did. It was never something that came into my mind. I'm friends with everybody of every race and every background. Like, so it was just never something I ever thought about. And I'm only starting to think about these things in this current time because of social media, and everyone is just always making these types of statements. So I don't know what that means. Maybe I have to think about it more. I'm not sure. I have to look into it more. I have to learn more, all those things that people tell you, but I don't understand why a global head of marketing would tweet something like this out. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I don't know. So I don't understand it. It doesn't matter, like, 'cause she can tweet whatever she wants. I don't care. But it just, like, if you're an exec, I mean, it's also the other thing. I think we saw that where somebody said that they hate gamers or something like that. It's like, why are you calling out the people that purchase your games? She was against. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much to comment on this. I mean, I guess her point is that minorities have struggles and have to fight to prove they exist. And of course, like, that's obviously something that you want to help. You want to help make sure that they don't have to have those struggles and those fights anymore. I guess that's her main point, but I don't get the full context of it. So I don't fully understand. I don't have like a strong opinion on it. I'd have to educate myself more, to be honest, to have a truly strong opinion on this. People were asking me about all the stuff in the comments, like almost on my videos, and I didn't fully know everything that was going on, but I guess this is one of the tweets people were talking about. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Like, I think politics is just like, I don't know. Politics is, I try to keep politics out of this channel because I feel like politics is shoved down everyone's throat 24/7 everywhere you go, everything. It's all about politics, and I think a lot of politics is designed specifically to divide us. Like I truly do, and I try to keep it out of this channel because I don't want people, like, I feel like you should talk to anybody. It shouldn't matter who they are. You should interact with anybody no matter who they are. And I feel that is the best way to learn about people's differences, is to actually interact with them. And then you'll realize at the end of the day that you don't have really that many differences. You probably agree on so many things, but then you have politics and you're trying to divide everybody up into different segments and categories and all this garbage when everyone is the exact same. So that's I guess my final take on it. Why try to divide people into different segments? Also, I am from Canada, so that's maybe a different perspective. I don't have like the constant division politics that it seems like. Correct me if I'm wrong, my American friends out there, but it seems like that's what America is consistently about. It's just that division of politics. So maybe my take is a bit different, but I just feel like politics in general is designed to divide, and then you have people who fall for this stuff and then continue to divide rather than trying to actually like have real civil discussions with people who are different than them and try to learn about them and try to come to a common ground. You don't have that, especially now with how insane the politics are. But like, whatever, like, she can tweet whatever she wants. It's not a big deal. I think people overreact on both sides of the aisle. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. That's my real take on it. I look at it more from like as herself. It's like, clearly, I think she deleted the tweet after, because it's just screenshots I'm seeing. The other issue here, I'm not going to be honest, the other issue here is that like people take this stuff and then they run with it and they make videos and they do all this stuff and they try to create rage bait and outrage about stuff. And reality is she probably had good intentions behind the tweet. I don't know. Like, people were saying it's a racist tweet. I don't really see it as a racist tweet. Actually, I don't see it as a racist tweet, to be honest. I think that people will take it and try to make it into something much bigger than it actually is and create rage and hate bait around it. And that's, again, it's all about the politics of division. There are about 10 issues people disagree on and they act like it's 100% different, but that's like, yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Humans are designed to connect with each other. Many of us choose to do it through gaming, so it makes no sense to try and divide us. I agree. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. And that's the thing, right? I don't know. Like I look at the chat. I don't know what color of skin you are in the chat. I don't know what your background is. I don't know what your religious beliefs are. And I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's not going to change interacting with you. It's not going to change if you're like a decent person. It's not going to matter to me. It doesn't matter. So again, yeah, that's my take on it. I guess I did have some more. I guess I did have a deeper thought on it after thinking about it more. That's like, that's kind of my thing. I like to look at it. I have to think about it just a little bit. We blame Canada for everything. Yeah, just like, yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, South Park conditioned us to blame Canada, so I'm okay with that. Canadians are nice. We'll take the blame. I think. I mean, we gave you all that was it forest fire smoke the other day? Was it this past summer? We sent all that down to you guys. Blame Canada. I literally stopped using my mic because of the BS online sometimes that I talk to PUBG. Everyone sounds cool. Hey, I can totally get that. I mean, there's a lot of toxicity on online gaming. Like, people, lobbies are pretty bad, but you know what? Like, here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. You can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, because I'm not of, like, you guys can see I'm a white guy. But would people use like slurs online? Do they actually know you were of a certain race or gender or whatever? Or do they just say things because they want to be edgy? Like, that's what, because I would go into lobbies and I would hear slurs all the time. But I don't know if they're just trying to be edgy or if it's because they actually pinpointed, you know. Love Canada, just not the Habs. I guess that's better than nothing. I blame Canada, Plume. I just blame one Canadian, you. Phil Spencer is the perfect Canadian with how many times he apologized. That's actually true. That is actually true. He is, honestly. He apologizes a lot. Canada rules Alanis, Drake, Justin, Celine. Yeah. All actually, I guess Drake still has a pretty big presence in Canada now, but like everyone else just goes to the States. Best thing to come out of Canada is Trish Stratus and the Trailer Park Boys. I can agree with you on that. Definitely the Trailer Park Boys. I definitely agree with you on the Trailer Park Boys. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question. I don't really have a strong take on it. Like, I just find it from like a business perspective, from like somebody that high up. It's like, you obviously are going to put something out there that's going to alienate a lot of people, but there's better ways to have framed that tweet and said it in with better context first, because people took it like people took it. And so I saw it earlier, but I forgot exactly what she had said. And if you go through the comments, it's just that people go way too friggin' crazy, either one way or the other. It's like, people say stupid things all the time. Get over it, move on. Who cares? What Brian put down. When I talk, you can tell I'm not white. That's all I'll say. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean, it's bad. Like, that's shitty. So I apologize for those people that said those mean things. Although I had nothing to do with it, you know. Russia's the best thing to come out of Canada. Yeah, Russia's pretty good. There's a lot of great things coming out of Canada. A lot of great wrestlers coming out of Canada. There's I mean, all the hockey players, but I don't know how many people in here like hockey. Some good basketball players coming out of Canada recently. Your leader needs a slap up. Her comment is based off of her opinion. It is what it is, and I could care less. Hey, that is a great, you know what? That's a great point. It's her opinion. Take it or leave it. Who cares? I agree with that as well. Canada goose jackets are nice as well. What's up, Dark? Okay. I think I was going to talk about some other stuff, but the whole asking to, yes, sir, the best wrestler is Bret the Man Hart. I agree. I was going to talk about this article here, the gold rush. You guys always trying to bring in politics into my stream, and you always throw me off. Don't blame Canada. I blame you. I don't blame Canada. Xbox game. Gold Rush. Politics get in the way once again, of course. I feel like it's going to be a pretty bad year when it comes to politics seeping into everything. All right, let's talk about the Xbox Game Pass Gold Rush. So there is this article that did come out, and there's actually a follow-up article where somebody went and asked some more indie devs to get some more like insight on it all, but let's read through it. The Gold Rush is over. Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon dev says the big Game Pass and Epic exclusive deals have dried up for indie devs. In an interview at last week's Game Developers Conference, there's a lot of anti Xbox stuff at the GDC this year. It seems like, at least. In an interview in last week's Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, the developers behind the indie sensation Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon said that the deal some small developers have come to rely on for funding in recent years, like Epic Games Store exclusives and Xbox Game Pass, are no longer what they once were. It says, I've talked to at least 5 small teams, like 35 members, and under during GDC, and they're like cuts, funding canceled, talks that were going on for a year canceled. To Casiano, the co-founder of the Slay the Spire studio Mega Crypt. It sounds like it's shit. We're definitely very privileged to be able to self-fund. Otherwise, I'd be very, very, very scared right now. So apparently from the Slay the Spire dev that Game Pass deals have dried up, and yeah, the money is not there. Slay the Spire launched a slow sales in Steam early access, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to read that part. Darkest Dungeon was likewise Steam, blah, 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 blah. And then it says Darkest Dungeon director Chris Barassa said that Microsoft's deals for getting games on Game Pass have come down in scope since the subscription service began, way down. And that's actually not surprising if this is true, because I feel like all subscription services start off heavy. They reach out to as many people as possible. They have tons of money on the board that they can give out to try to get a bunch of content into the service itself. And then as the years go on and things change, they have to reduce the scope. They can't be giving out the exact same money to everybody. But again, look at March this year of Game Pass and look how good that was. So it doesn't really seem like Game Pass is slowing down too much, but to these indie developers, obviously the deals have maybe become less lucrative. It says, so has Epic. Epic, I guess, is doing the same thing. The gold rush is over. I come from the Northwest Territories. The town I'm from was built on gold. Hey, that's Canada. And then they found diamonds further north. Wow. Canada. Shout out to Canada. Maybe another paradigm shift is waiting for us, but I definitely think the scale of the deals I'm hearing about is significantly dismisses. Can someone say that word for me? Dismisses from the big swinging days. Certainly we got our Epic deal at the right time. So a couple of devs here saying Game Pass deals are drying up. Again, not that surprising if it's true. I feel like Xbox has a certain amount of cash that they had tons of to go out and get as much content as possible into the service, and now they have to be kind of more selective, maybe reduce the scope of how much money they are giving out. So that wouldn't be that surprising. I feel like most subscription services operate like that. But I wonder just how true that really is across the board. Because we do have this article here that also came out. Is Xbox cutting indie funding for Game Pass or adapting to the times? Devs weigh in. I believe this is also a Canadian website. It is a Canadian website. Canada doing big things these days. This is a .ca domain, guys. This is a .ca domain. Shout out to Canada. Yesterday, a story came out that Game Pass Gold Rush is over. Xbox isn't focusing on Game Pass as much and aren't paying nearly what they once did, and because of it, developers weren't getting the funding that they had hoped for. Epic is also supposedly cutting way back on funding. Some took it as yet more doom and gloom for Xbox, and others like myself had more questions than answers. I was in the boat of having more questions than answers, as you can see as I read through that article. So I went in search of answers myself and spoke to a few indie devs. Most didn't want to speak on the record, but their sentiments were all the same. So this is like, sounds like it sounds like somewhat of a contradiction to that PC gamer.com article. Now I have to check. Is this all the same damn company? Is this? No, it's not. All right. It's not. It's not Repop. PC Gamer is part of Future US Inc. I was going to say, if this was a part of gamesindustry.biz and VGC, which are all the same. You go down here, you can see. If it was a part of this news conglomerate, then that would be crazy that all three of them put out these articles at the same time, but it's not. So I guess like they're off the hook on that end. So this dev says the money is still there. It's just harder to get. Was how one put it. Gone are the days when Xbox would accept just about any game sent their way. And that's fair. That makes complete sense. That actually makes complete sense. That they, like I said, they had to get an influx of content into the subscription service to grow it. Now that the service is stable, it has lots of subscribers. Now they're going to be more selective about the content they put in there. They said they need ample amounts of content back then and were willing to accept what they could get. They were definitely in quantity over quality mode, and this is a good thing, in my opinion. If you're a consumer, you want Game Pass to have consistent quality over just anything. They say now that they have a very large first-party portfolio to fund, that's another key thing. Their first-party portfolio is insanely huge. On top of the out-of-control budgets in the industry, they are a bit more cautious when it comes to funding, but that's not to say they won't. Enter the man who is willing to speak on record, the Falconeer and the recent Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles developer, Thomas Sal. The Falconeer is a good game. You should check that out if you haven't. Who echoes a lot of the same sentiments. I think the industry is just in a shift at the same time that economic fortunes are changing. And then he says, but I don't believe things are as dire as some are saying. Deals are still being made. Platforms still need games to sell or stream to their subscribers and will need to pay to acquire them. Indeed, as Salas says, we see almost weekly new games going into their subscription services. Xbox needs content to keep flowing and keep subscribers engaged, but this is where he sees the biggest difference. And it's not just dealing with Xbox, but all platforms and subscriptions. So this is super interesting. This quote here, this part, I'll see what he says here, but he says, you'll need to bring more to the table to succeed, better pitches, and often hard data that shows your game is likely to succeed or has succeeded. That isn't necessarily an unsurmountable obstacle for those experienced and prepared for it. So this is interesting. Let's take a look here. So we have PC Gamer here. The gold rush is over. Slay the Spire and Darkest Dungeon devs say that Game Pass and Epic exclusive deals have dried up for indie devs. So they frame it as that. They talk to a couple. They have two devs here that comment, and they're basically saying, well, this dev here says, it sounds like it's shit. We're definitely very privileged to be self-funded, but I'd be very, very, very scared right now. That's the quote that they put out here. So they went and interviewed this person. They said, hey, that's a great quote. Let's put out an article saying that Game Pass is drying up and there's no more deals out there. And then you go over here to obviously a much smaller website. I've never heard of gamersocialclub.ca, but clearly a better website because they are from Canada. And they interviewed real developers, and the developers are framing this in a completely different light, basically saying, yeah, like it's changed slightly, but there's still deals out there. But it makes sense that it's changed slightly because Xbox they have the content in there and they have a huge first party output within Xbox. It's just crazy to me the difference you get from this article to this article, both with quotes. This isn't just somebody's opinion. This one, I guess, technically isn't just somebody's opinion either. They're both with quotes, but how there's such a difference in how some of these devs are looking at it, and then how there's such a difference in how the article is framed. But it's great that they went out there and actually asked people and brought some more light to if the gold rush was truly over. The gold rush, I would say, them giving money out to everybody may have died down, but Like this dev says here, doesn't believe things are as dire as some people are saying. They say, indeed, as Salah says, we see almost weekly new games going into their subscription services. Xbox needs content to keep flowing, keep subscribers engaged. But this is where he sees the biggest difference. And it's not just dealing with Xbox, but all platforms and subscriptions. You'll need to bring more to the table to succeed. Better pitches, often hard data that shows your game is likely to succeed or has succeeded. This isn't necessarily an unsurmountable obstacle for those experienced and prepared for it. So, I mean, that's a good take on that. And they say, and let's be clear here, this is just one developer's experiences and thoughts. Every developer is different, and each deal these developers go for is different, but Xbox is in a position where it needs not just content anymore, it needs results. This is where Salah hopes not just Xbox, but all platforms get back to a bit more. I feel platforms and storefronts have a responsibility to also take some risks on culturally or artistic content, games that aren't there to make it rain, but enhance our field of art. I agree. I totally agree. Like, that's one of the great things about indie devs is that they have those culturally or artistic different styles of games that isn't just the same that a lot of these big AAA devs like to push out nonstop over and over again. I think that makes a big difference. He says those are likely to suffer first because they feel like a luxury, but in an industry where addiction is a byword for success and stagnation failure, our societal goodwill and capacity to innovate aren't luxuries. I agree. I like this, Thomas Sella. That is potentially one downfall of how things are being run now. Indie games are some sort of the most creative, ambitious projects out there. I agree. That's another take. I've said that many times on my channel. I actually think that they are the most creative right now, and they need that funding to survive. And I agree with Sal's comments. There needs to be a balance between money making and taking risks. I get it's a business, not a charity, but sometimes it's worth the risk when the reward can be an outstanding experience. Okay. So there's a couple things here. And I'm going to just talk about the media. We read through this. It looks like this is bullshit. I mean, things are changing, but it's like, it's not drying up, but the gold rush isn't over. Or it depends, I guess, how you categorize the gold rush, where it's like you could go in there and say, here's my game. It's like a piece of shit going across the screen, and Game Pass will give you, Xbox will give you money. I guess maybe it's dried up in that way. But this article here, this from gamersocialclub.ca is like 100 times better than this article here from PC Gamer, which is a massive company compared to, I'm guessing, I may look like an idiot here, but we'll go down and see, but I'm guessing this is like an indie site, like just a random site on the internet. But this is just so much better, so much more insightful, so much better written. That's actually wild to me, that this one here is so much better. And developer interviews that they have are way more insightful and way better to kind of understand what is going on here. But I guess the conclusion of is Game Pass drying up for deals? The conclusion is no. The conclusion is Xbox is making it harder to get a Game Pass deal. They want you to actually show them that your game will be successful or will be worthwhile to them to put it on the subscription service, which is a good thing. And the reason it's happening is because they have so many games on the service already now. They've taken that time, they filled the service, and they also have a huge amount of first-party IPs that they're going to be able to continue to provide to the service, that they don't need to give out Game Pass deals to anyone who comes and knocks at their door. I guess that's probably why they put like ID at Xbox is probably a better avenue now for some of these indie devs if they want to get notoriety, is to go there and just try to get their game up on to the Xbox store. But before we continue, and let me know what you guys think about this. Lotus is free with the $50 super sticker again. I mean, it's insanely generous. That's your second super sticker today. I mean, I appreciate that, Lotus, and last week as well. Insanity again. Thank you. I don't know how to react well to this type of generosity, but I appreciate it, Lotus. I appreciate it. All right. So insanity. The difference between those two articles. But I don't know, but like, what do you guys think? Like, do you guys like? I like indie games. I like them a lot. I'll be honest, this year I've played not as many because I haven't had as much time. I've played more of, I have a backlog and games that I've been excited for, but it's only March, so I still have a lot of time. Last year I played more, and the year before I played a lot more. indie games. I think they are some of the most creative creations that we get in the gaming industry. And I think that now with how expensive AAA games are, we're going to see an indie scene and a AA scene just absolutely explode, which I think is actually good for gaming. Yeah, good AAA games hitting every month would make it they have enough studios to have good AAA games hitting every month. Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Call of Duty this year and how Xbox handles the release of the upcoming Call of Duty. Is that game dropping into Game Pass or not? I think it is. I believe it is, based off of what they said at the business update, which they are trying to bring all their games to Game Pass. But how are they going to handle the release of that? Because Call of Duty is a gold mine no matter what. They could release it at $100 and it's going to be the best selling game of the year. It just is. It may be the only game some people buy every single year, right? So they don't mind spending that amount of money, and it's just insanely popular. And putting it into Game Pass, will they look at those numbers and think, okay, well, we'll lose X amount of sales from Call of Duty people buying it full price? Will that be okay if it's offset by X amount of Game Pass subscribers? I could almost bet that's the calculation that they're doing with Call of Duty. Is they're looking at how much money they would lose by putting it into Game Pass, how many sales will be cannibalized, versus will that be offset by the amount of people that do subscribe to Xbox Game Pass? And the potential of how many of those people subscribe to Xbox Game Pass, how long will they stay subscribed? And then will they be able to make more money off of each subscriber? My theory with the whole thing is, if you get somebody to subscribe to Xbox Game Pass because of Call of Duty, there is probably a relatively good likelihood that they will continue to stay subscribed for maybe half a year, maybe even longer than that. So that's continuous revenue. And then there's probably a decent chance that they're going to go check out the Xbox Game Pass catalog, play some more stuff in it, which will keep them subscribed even longer. Maybe they become a year subscriber, maybe they become a 2-year subscriber, and then there's probably a good chance, if it's the person's they're jumping into Xbox just for Call of Duty for Game Pass, there's probably a decent chance they're going to go and check out the Microsoft Store, they're going to go make more purchases, and all of those things are going to add up. I feel like the lifetime value of that customer is far better than the lifetime value of the customer who goes out and just buys the game, and that's all they focus on because they don't have access to anything else. That's just the calculation in my mind that I will look at it, but who knows? Who knows how they're going to do it? Tunic was phenomenal. Tunic is a phenomenal game. Celeste is a phenomenal game. Nobody Saves the World is really good. There's just a handful of indie games. What was the game I just played that was really good? Oh man, terrible with remembering names, but I just finished it. I think I finished it last month. It's an older one that was on Game Pass. Solar Ash. Yeah, really good one. I would buy way more skins if COD was in Game Pass. I mean, that's my point. I think a lot of people would as well. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I think that would be definitely, I think that would outweigh people actually paying full price for it. People would just be like, hey, I didn't have to pay $70 for this game. I might as well spend some money on some microtransactions. And I feel like that overall value will outweigh the cost of not putting it into Game Pass itself. I hope it's in Game Pass. It would be insane. If you think of what Xbox could actually do with Call of Duty in Game Pass, just from a marketing perspective, that is one game that I think would potentially move consoles to a certain extent, of course, but I think it actually would. How are they going to handle Xbox curated games if they're going full PC next gen? What do you mean by Xbox curated games? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, because technically like all first party Xbox games are on PC as well, right? The massager, do you mean the messenger? They're already they are PC games, right? Game Pass is halfway to free to play. Hey, if they start putting ads in Game Pass, maybe there will be a free to play option or a cheaper option. And that's a good question as well. Like, I'm somebody who thinks that when it comes to Game Pass and there's those rumors about ads going into Game Pass, I'm actually okay with it if it's a lower tier. If they said like, okay, you can pay $5 a month or something, or $7 a month, whatever it is, to get Game Pass, but there's like a pre-roll ad before you launch a game, that's okay. If they add ads to Game Pass Ultimate where you're spending $17 a month or whatever it is in USD, I think it's like $20 a month. Is it $20 a month in Canadian? It's something around there. Then no, I'm not okay with that. But if they have a low tier, $7, whatever, cheaper than just console or PC Game Pass, and it's like, or $5 a month or whatever it is, and they say, hey, there's a pre-roll ad when you launch a game, I think people will go for that. Xbox games made for Xbox, or are they just going to use the PC version for the next gen Xbox? I mean, the games are all the same. They're just optimized differently. I feel like they'll just I think they would just continue. You're going to get the game optimized for the hardware that you're on. I talked about this earlier. It's like, we're not in a generation here where you get different games on different platforms. They are all the exact same. They're just slightly optimized differently depending on the specs of whatever you're using, right? Like a PS5 version of a game is the exact same as an Xbox version of a game with modifications based on the slight differentiation in what's under the plastic, but they're both AMD. They're both the same architecture. They both have essentially the same GPU. One's slightly more powerful than the other. The one CPU is unlocked. One CPU is locked. It's a PC. How are my Microsoft points going these days? They are going. I think I have like 15,000 or something. Nothing crazy. I did just use them though recently and got another Game Pass subscription. So right now I'm on a 1-day streak. Just reminded me to claim my rewards for today before it passes. I have 13,000 right now. I don't know if there's been a big change. I don't know if you guys have noticed if there's been a big change since they did that update, if they've gotten less or more points than usual. I haven't really noticed a major change, but yeah. The return of Bob. Wow. I just see that. The return of Bob is here. What happened, Bob? Did I ban you from the channel or something? Because I don't really ban very much. I don't think I ban anyone unless they're like pure spam. I love how the funniest thing I find in the YouTube comments is when people are getting mad at, they're blaming me for their comments getting deleted. I don't think I've deleted a single. I've been on YouTube for 7 years, and I don't think I've deleted a single comment. And I'm like 97% sure of that. So don't 100% take that as fact. But I'm like 97% sure I don't think I've ever deleted a single comment on my videos. And it's hilarious when people blame me, but it's just them writing stupid shit that goes against YouTube rules that auto deletes the comments. Bob was a spammer? Oh, okay. I blocked you? Okay, well, you must have done something really dumb. You must have said something really bad, which is like, it takes a lot, because I don't get really offended by anything. But if you say something that's just like so absurd and it's like, it's being very offensive to obviously a lot of people in the chat, and I'm not talking about like console war stuff, I'm talking probably like racist stuff and shit, then I'll probably ban you. But if you're like spoiling, I feel like you were spoiling games. People were getting really pissed off at you. I feel like that's what it was. I feel like it was you were spoiling games, because I don't have any people who say like crazy shit in my chats. Am down if they go full PC. All the stores will be awesome, and that will be a huge draw compared to PlayStation. If Xbox puts Steam on the console, if they put PC launchers, it's an absolute win. The opinion piece that I read earlier in the stream, where the guy was pretending like that's not something that would move consoles. It would move consoles. I don't know how much, but it definitely would. It's an absolute win. It's definitely a desirable feature that people love to have, especially if you can access your Steam catalog on an Xbox, especially if they integrate that all with the handheld, with a nice console UI on the handheld, and you get access to your Xbox games, your Game Pass games, your Steam, all of that stuff all in one spot, even Epic or whatever. It'll sell. People will like that. You're right, Bionic Wolf. I do need more mods. I do need more mods. But the thing is, my chat is actually pretty good right now. Chat is actually decent. You spoiled Starfield. Bob, there's no way that you got some insider information and actually spoiled the release date of Starfield. It was definitely something to do with a game that was out, and you were telling us what was happening within the game. But I don't remember why. Oh, you know what it probably was actually as well? I think maybe you were like, I don't remember. But listen, like, I don't ban anyone really. I ban only like spam accounts. So if you spam, you know, may have to ban him or again. But so far you're behaving. Bill Spencer should take the easy way out and go strictly third party. You know that PlayStation is third party as well, right? I love how the people are like, Xbox is third party. It's like, you do realize that PlayStation puts their games on other platforms that they do not own, which is the definition of third party. Be cool if Xbox did like a Switch only, made it more powerful where it was a console, but you could pull it out and it would be a mobile device. If they did like a Switch, like with a hybrid where you can dock it as well, and you can get like some good resolutions and stuff on there on your TV, that would be massive. That would be massive. Sony is following Xbox step for step, just at a slower pace. I agree. I pretty much agree with that, honestly, because like if you look at what they have been doing, and I've been saying this for a while, but they are essentially just going down the same path as Xbox. And what I don't think PlayStation anticipated was how hard Xbox was going to go. So they've had to move faster than I think they wanted to. I feel like they were going to get closer to opening up their ecosystem as by the end of this generation, putting games in other places, especially as development costs are increasing. But I feel like they had more time because they've probably deep down felt that they didn't have much competition. But with everything Xbox has changed, from Game Pass to the acquisitions and everything, and the reality that they're backed by a multi-trillion-dollar corporation, they realize that if they don't move now and they don't move fast, they are going to fall behind. We all know Phil wants the Lenovo to go to feel like an Xbox, so if we are lucky we get a copy of that being a hybrid, that'd be great. That'd be great. That would be awesome. That would be phenomenal. Like, I think I mean, I've talked about the handheld a bunch of times already, but I think it's a no-brainer move by Xbox to do it with their ecosystem, with their whole strategy, with their goals, getting people to be able to take their games natively on the go with you that are not just in Game Pass, would keep people literally locked into their ecosystem at all times. And maybe even move some people away from playing mobile games, like on their phone. Because like cloud gaming is cool and all on your phone if you have a good connection. It just it's just something missing. It's just like it doesn't. I don't know. You need to have like the touch controls that they've added in. Great that they're doing that, but it's really hard to play most of these games. Maybe I'm just not from that generation because I'm not from the generation of people who play games on their phone and people who play games on their tablets. I can't do touch controls. I just can't do it. I can't do the Xbox says that integration. I can't do it. I can't do touch controls for mobile games. I don't play really any mobile games, but any games that I've tried with touch controls, I cannot do it. It just does not compute with my brain. I hate them. So getting a handle with the controllers already on there. Yes, they have the adapters for your phones, but then that means you have to carry the adapters. I don't know. The handheld market has definitely opened up though since the Steam Deck released. Plume, you should become an echo chamber. You're gonna have to expand on that one, Bob. What are you asking me to do? I'm not gonna lie, you spelled echo wrong. So I don't know if it's the meaning you were going for. I don't know if it was what you really intended with that comment. Handheld AA batteries included. Hey, I like batteries in the controllers. I know people are like, oh, you're just saying that because you're an Xbox shit. Like, no, I like the batteries in the controllers. I hate having to charge my controllers all the time. Not having a cord around. Not being able to play because I can't find the friggin' charging cable or the charging block to plug into another outlet to charge it. With an Xbox controller, hey, at least I have batteries lying around. I can just go change the batteries and I'm back. So I don't know what this whole and plus the battery in your controllers can get shittier and get worse, and they don't even last that long, or at least the DualSense is like brutal. I think they've improved it slightly, but it's brutal for how long it lasts. You literally have to be plugged in. So no, I am not against the AA batteries in the controllers. I feel like the next Xbox guaranteed is going to have the rechargeable. But luckily, you're going to be able to bring over the peripherals, I'm pretty sure, as they've been doing, and make all the backwards compatibility stuff. So you're going to be able to use whatever you want. Batteries are wasteful, yes, but they are also convenient. So pick your poison, I guess. Bob is reminding us why he got banned. Did he say something else other than telling me to be an echo chamber? And didn't spell echo right? Buy the Energizer rechargeable batteries and keep moving. That's great. Again, you can't do that without being able to actually put the batteries in. Keep those things recharged, have a couple of them, swap them out, boom. But if you don't have that option, I don't know. I find it super annoying. Like I was playing Stellar Blade just this weekend. I played the demo. And by the way, Stellar Blade is awesome for a multitude of reasons, but the demo is awesome. If you do have a PS5, I would recommend at least trying the demo out. But like my DualSense was dead, so I wanted to play it, and I had to sit there. And you know when you want, like when it's like your controller's dead and you're just kind of lazy and you have to think about actually having to get. I know this sounds crazy. I know this is like not an actual problem, but just the thought of having to find where the charging wire is, and then thinking like, my PS5 is way too far for the length of this charging wire, so I have to go get like another plug that's closer to me to plug into the wall outlet, then to plug the, all that. It's just, you know, I don't have the charging dock, so I don't. But yeah, that's all the stuff that goes through my head when I think about having to charge my controller. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe the reality is I'm just lazy. IGN is based. Oh, I saw the headlines about the article about Stellar Blade, but I didn't read it. I don't know what they were going on about, if that's what you're referring to. The game has no hope getting high rated. Maybe you're wrong, but oh, do you mean because of? Yeah, Soldier Boy, you're right. It is laziness, but I wonder if it will get good reviews. From the demo I played, it was fun. It was fun. It's like, to me, Stellar Blade is like I love Bayonetta. Bayonetta is one of my favorite games. And Stellar Blade was kind of like a slightly shittier Bayonetta with like, I think the combat's worse than Bayonetta. Yeah, it is worth. It was the thing with Stellar Blade was the combat was somewhat slow, like a little bit sluggish, but I don't know if that was just because I haven't upgraded my character. Because when you play the demo, you don't have the upgrades. But graphically it was phenomenal. Music was great. Music was very Bayonetta reminiscent to me. And the combat was good. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad. It was good. But I like the more like faster paced of Bayonetta. And like Devil May Cry. I think Devil May Cry is faster as well. So hopefully the combat does speed up as you level up your character. But I think it's a good game. It's like Nier Automata, Devil May Cry. Yeah, it is kind of like that. I think it's worse than Devil May Cry. I think it's worse than Bayonetta, but that's only from my impressions on the demo. And like I said, it's still like a game. I will play that game. Graphically, great. And it's hard to make a full judgment off of a small demo. I wonder how long it is too. I will play it eventually. The way people are complaining about the character, it's not going to win awards. Honestly, I saw the IGN article. So, like when someone asked earlier about the Kelly Lombardi tweet and stuff, and it's like, I'm kind of out of the loop on a lot of this stuff, but I saw the IGN article, which was complaining about it. Are other outlets complaining about it? Most people on the internet, most gamers that I've seen talking about it are loving it, obviously for different reasons, but like in terms of the actual gameplay, a lot of people are loving it. People are also loving it just because of the way the character looks, which to me it's like great, but if the game is shitty, then that doesn't matter at all. I don't care too much about that. Like, the game is shitty, it doesn't matter how good the character looks. But from everything I've seen people talk about it, most people are liking it online gameplay wise. But we will see how the media outlets rate it. Stellar is not a $7 game. I'll wait on sale. I will probably wait on sale. I'm not buying it day one. That's not what I'm saying. I will play it, but I will probably wait on a sale. I'm still playing Unicorn Overlord. The game deserves to be on all platforms. Yeah, it may one day. All right, guys. I'm being summoned. I'm gonna have to jump off, but I mean, we hit 2 hours, so It's pretty good. I appreciate everyone coming out. Check out my video tomorrow. And yeah, we'll have another good week of talking gaming news, and I'll see you guys next Sunday night at 9 p.m. We will continue to discuss everything that is going on in the gaming world. But I appreciate everyone coming out and all the support and everything. You guys are awesome. And